What's up everybody, and welcome back to another toy review. Today we're checking out the sci-fi strategy card game called Rust: The Afterworld. This game was created by the Afterworld Company and fully funded on Kickstarter. It's an innovative survival game for 2 to 4 players, and it has a unique game mechanic. Rust: The Afterworld takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where a disastrous plague spreads to all living and non-living things. The disease is called rust. The remaining survivors are divided into 4 factions, and they battle each other for survival. However, there are those chosen individuals who are immune to the plague, and they're called masters. Now these masters are seen as heroes, and favored by those who are following them. You, the player, are a master, and you face off against other masters using RPG elements and deck building strategy to overcome and defeat your opponents. Each player's deck consists of faction-specific cards, only usable by the faction that is being played, and you can only play as one faction per game. Decks also include universal cards that can be played by any faction. It's up to the players which cards they want to include in their deck, so this opens up countless possibilities for strategy and synergy between cards. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to play Rust: The Afterworld, and then I'm going to be playing some game demos. But before we begin, I want to give a shout out and special thanks to Max and the Afterworld Company for supplying me with the faction decks, as well as some killer signed artwork. Guys, check this out. Look at how sick that is. Man, I love this poster so much. Thank you so much, Max, for sending me these. Check that one out. That's a beautiful, beautiful landscape piece right there. Really, really love that. I can't wait to have those framed hanging in my game room. So thanks again, Max, and the Afterworld Company. Coming soon this spring, the Afterworld Company will be launching another Kickstarter campaign featuring the core set second print of the original core game. Rust: The Afterworld has been getting so popular, it's sold out everywhere and fans desire more. The core set second print will feature new cards for your factions, as well as a brand new way to enhance your RTA gaming experience. I'm talking about the Wastelands mode, and to play it, you'll need the Wastelands kit, a set of 6 cards of a newly created type and 4 brand new effect cards. The Wastelands kit also adds a feature I've really been waiting for, solo mode. There's even a stretch goal that'll unlock master token cards, and I'm really pumped for that one. Be sure to check out the Afterworld Company's new Kickstarter coming soon. Follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter to get all their latest updates. The 4 factions in Rust: The Afterworld are the North, the South, the East, and the West. In today's game demo, I'll be showcasing the East versus the West, and then I'll have the North take on the South in a future video. Alright everyone, it's time, let's get to it. I'll be explaining all the rules and how everything works. Let's buckle up, let's dive in. This is Rust: The Afterworld. First off, there are a few things you'll need to begin playing Rust: The Afterworld. Each player will of course need a faction deck made up of at least 40 cards plus a master card. Player decks can only include cards from one faction. Cards will have the faction symbol on the top left corner or no symbol at all, meaning they're generic cards that can be included in any faction deck. Lastly, cards cannot include more than 4 copies of the same card. Unique cards, however, can only have 1 per deck. Unique cards are mostly special characters. Additionally, each player will need a d20, 6 to 8 d6, some damage tokens, and 3 different tokens. One to keep track of your doom points, your stockpile, and a token to represent your master. You can use anything you have laying around, be it coins, stones, you get the point. I picked these gems up at a dollar store, and I've even used miniatures to represent my master. Here is the game mat for Rust: The Afterworld. It is not necessary to play, but it's great for learning the basic rules and card placements during the game. It also adds a little color and character to the RTA universe. There are 2 major areas of the game mat, and they are the borderland and the area of influence. Masters themselves take part of the action and are major components of Rust: The Afterworld. You'll need to utilize your master and master their abilities. Sometimes they'll need to be defensive, and sometimes they'll need to be offensive. It really depends on your master and what you've included in your deck to help support your faction. Your master is represented by the master token, and you'll move it from time to time and combat your opponent's master and enemy survivors. Master cards have 3 stats. They are attack damage, constitution, and armor. These numbers will increase as you attach devices to your master. These stats also appear on survivor cards, which we'll get to later. Constitution is vital for your survival in Rust the Afterworld. Your master's constitution is equal to the current amount of stockpile you have remaining. We'll get to the stockpile in a moment. Some masters, such as the Samurai Master, may have a special rule. In his case, at the beginning of the first day, draw an extra card. On the right side of a master card are his skills, as they increase by level. You must pay the Doom Points cost to unlock the next level. Level 1 skills are already unlocked and can be played as if they were effect cards. We'll get to effect cards and Doom Points later. To begin, players place their deck on the deck space and place their master card in the master card space. This master card will never move, and remember to shuffle your deck very well. Each turn in Rust the Afterworld is called a day. Each day, players will follow the day phase sequence as outlined on the RTA map. Let's go over some of the key elements in RTA before proceeding with the turn order sequence. Stockpile is key in Rust the Afterworld, and every player begins the game with 20 resource. Cursed Master, however, begins the game with 2 resource less as it's indicated on his master card. Players may accumulate over 20 resource during a single game. Throughout the game, you'll be playing cards from your hand and placing them in front of you or on the game mat. Most cards require you to pay the stockpile cost shown at the top right corner in the diamond symbol. Remember that a master's constitution is based on how much stockpile the commanding player has left, so the more cards you play, the weaker your master becomes. Don't worry though, there are ways to regenerate stockpile, which we'll get to see in the game demo. Players who reach 0 stockpile lose the game. Doom Points can be acquired by playing dominions from your hand, conquering your opponent's dominions, or destroying them. The amount earned will be shown next to the Doom Points on the Dominion card. Additionally, completing quests will reward you with Doom Points. The amount earned this way will be shown on the quest card. Playing unique hero cards from your hand or destroying your opponent's unique hero cards also grant you Doom Points. The amount earned this way will be shown on the unique card. A player who scores a total of 12 Doom Points is crowned the winner of the game. At the beginning of the first day, players draw the top 4 cards from their deck. At the beginning of turn 2 and on, players only draw 1 card. These are to be kept face down in your hand so your opponent can't see them. Players then roll off using their d20 to see who has the higher initiative. The highest number rolled wins the initiative. The winning player will now act first for this turn in every phase this day. Players can now move any of their survivor cards or master token from the borderland to the area of influence and vice versa. Survivors and masters can only move once per turn and cannot move to the area of influence unless there is a dominion placed there. This will be an important step in later turns with the introduction of dominions and manning dominions, which we'll get to shortly. Masters, devices, dominions, and survivors can now activate any one skill they have described on their card. Survivor and master skills can only be activated once per day, and there is a second skills phase later in the day sequence. The skill on the Relic Seeker Survivor states, pay 1 stockpile to take a device from your scrap heap and add it to your hand. The Abandoned City Dominion skill states, only 1 survivor who is manning Abandoned City gains, add 1 stock to your stockpile. A survivor or master with a skill that targets enemy survivors can only do so if they're both in the same area, that being the borderland or the area of influence. For example, the Samurai Master wants to use his shuriken gun device to target an enemy survivor. First, the Samurai Master token has to be in the borderland. Second, the enemy survivor must be in their borderland. If these requirements are met, then the Samurai Master may go ahead and use his shuriken gun skill, and it states, Put X rust on shuriken gun to inflict X damages to a target non-master survivor, if both are either in the borderland or in the same dominion or ordeal. For another example, a Hope Thief survivor in the Borderlands who wishes to target an enemy survivor with the long shot skill must target an enemy in the Borderlands. We'll discuss targeting and defending dominions shortly. To successfully hit the target, the player using long shot must roll a d20. If the dice rolled is equal or greater than the number written on the survivor card using long shot, then the shot hits and deals damage equal to the attack strength of the survivor. In this phase, players can now choose to do one of 5 actions. They are recruit survivors, explore dominion, assign a device, start a quest, and declare war. Let's break these down. When recruiting survivors, place all survivors from your hand you'd like to play face down in the borderland. Remember that cards require you to pay a stockpile price. Survivors will be attacking your enemies and defending your master and your dominions. They are crucial to winning in Rust the Afterworld. Unique survivor cards can only be played if there is no card matching it currently in play. This may occur during a mirror match where you're playing an opponent with the same faction or in multiplayer games. Survivors have stats similar to a master. They have strength and constitution values. Unique survivors will also have strength, constitution, as well as an armor and doom value. Some survivor cards have skills and rules written on them which players must follow. For example, Sensei has 2 passive special rules. They are weapon devices you control gain an additional +1 strength, and non-master survivors damaged by Sensei end up in the scrap heap. Sensei is a very powerful card for this faction. When exploring a dominion, place 1 dominion card from your hand face down in the borderland. Dominions provide players with doom points which can help them win the game or allow masters to do special abilities detailed on their master card. Dominions may also grant special skills to survivors manning them. I'll get to manning a dominion later in the video. To assign a device, place 1 device card from your hand face down in the borderland. Weapon devices will increase your master's attack strength, while armor devices will increase his survivability. Weapon and armor devices can provide a master with special skills as well, which they can use in the skills phase. Your master is as important as a fighter as your survivor, so you'll want to prepare him for battle. To start a quest, place 1 quest card from your hand face down in the borderland. I'll explain quests later on in the video. To declare war, announce to your opponent that you are intending to attack him. Players cannot declare war if war has already been declared upon them. For this turn, defenders will have to choose a different action. Players can declare war with just their master token. They do not necessarily need any survivors in the borderland. Once players have chosen their action and played their cards, if any, into the borderland, the player who won initiative will flip their face down cards up. Once up, place the cards in their corresponding areas of the game mat. Survivors remain in the borderland. Dominions are placed in the area of influence and must be placed either to the left or to the right of other dominions in the area of influence. Quest cards are placed in the quest space, and devices are attached to your master card. Device cards must be placed next to the corresponding side the device card indicates by the white arrows. Only 1 device can be attached per side. When you play a device, it will replace the current device equipped to that master's side, and the previous device will be discarded and placed into the scrap heap pile. Players then must pay the stockpile price indicated in the diamond shape on the top right hand corner of the device or survivor cards played. Subtract the amount from the current stockpile on the game mat. If you played a Dominion, you score the amount of Doom points as shown on the Dominion card. Once all players have flipped their face down cards up and paid their stockpile price, move on to the next phase. If you declared war against your opponent, it's time to attack. Announce to your opponent what you will be attacking. Players can attack an enemy master directly or an enemy dominion chosen by the attacker. You cannot attack enemy survivors. When attacking an enemy dominion, you must attack the outermost dominions first. For example, a player has 3 dominions and their opponent declared war upon them. The player who declared war cannot target the middle dominion. Next, choose which survivors you wish to attack and place them on the attack line. Only survivors and the master in the borderland can attack. When attacking with a master, players use his current stats calculated from equipped devices. Devices will increase your master's attack strength and armor, making them absolute killing machines. Friendly survivors in your borderland may also help increase your master's attack strength. For example, Sensei has a passive special rule, where devices controlled gain an additional +1 attack strength. This passive ability would grant the Samurai Master equipped with a shuriken gun a total of 3 attack strength. Survivors or masters who are manning dominions cannot attack, as they're too busy defending and blocking their dominion from enemy attackers. The defender must now choose, if any, which survivors they'll be using to block the attackers. If you're blocking an attack that was declared on your master, you must use the survivors in your borderland. Move the defending survivors on the attack line in front of the attacking survivors. If all attackers are blocked, then the player who declared war cannot reach their target. Defenders can have multiple survivors blocking a single attacking survivor. If this is the case, the attacking survivor must declare which defending survivor will be receiving damage. Attacking survivors may split their damage between multiple blocking survivors or direct it all on a single defending survivor. When attacking or blocking with a master token, damage is dealt to their stockpile. For example, if a master suffers 2 damage from an attack, the player whose master suffered the damage loses 2 stockpile. If your master is wearing armor or dealing tons of damage from devices, it may be worthwhile using him to defeat enemy survivors. It's always a good idea to protect your master as much as possible, but sometimes they do have to fight. Devices are very crucial to a master and their fighting strength. If the target of the attack was a dominion and there were no defending survivors, then you have conquered it. At the beginning of the next day, place the conquered dominion in your area of influence and your attacking survivors back in your borderland. You gain the amount of doom points as shown on the dominion card. Players who lose dominions either from being conquered or destroyed do not lose the doom points they've earned from acquiring those dominions. Alternatively, if the target of an attack is a dominion that is being manned by survivors, then the survivors manning the dominion, as well as survivors from the borderland, may choose to block the attack. Next, determine the damage dealt to survivors simultaneously by taking the attacker's and the blocker's attack strength written on their card and subtract it from their opponent's constitution. If the constitution of either survivors reaches 0, that survivor is slain and put in the scrap heap pile. To keep track of which survivors suffered damage, turn the card 90 degrees. This is called bending. We bend cards because some skills will allow players to target each other's survivors, those who have already been damaged in the war phase. To remember how much damage was dealt to survivors, you may put damage tokens on them. Now these are not necessary, but I find them very helpful, and I had some spare damage tokens lying around. Armor can mean life or death in Rust the Afterworld. When survivors with armor in their profile or masters equipped with devices which grant armor suffer damage, they suffer 1 less damage for every amount of armor they have. For example, a survivor with 1 armor will never take damage against enemy survivors that only have 1 attack strength on their profile. Even when being attacked by multiple enemies, if those enemies only have 1 attack strength, they will never break through armor unless their attacks do piercing damage. Piercing damage ignores all armor, and you'll see this keyword written directly on device cards. After the war phase settles, players can once again activate and use any skills they have. Remember that survivors and the master could only use their skills once per day, so if a survivor or master skill was used in the previous skills phase this day, then they cannot use a skill in this phase. The final phase of the day is called Rust. In this phase, all survivor cards and devices that do not have the keyword immune written on the card will rust. When this happens, place a d6 on their card starting with the one side facing up. Every day in the rust phase, these cards will rust, and when they do, increase the number on the dice by 1. When the total number on the dice equals the rust resistance shown in the box on the bottom right of their card, the card is placed in the scrap heap pile. Rust is the final phase of the day turn sequence. Now that we've finished the day phase sequence, remove all damage tokens from survivor cards and return cards that have been bent from taking damage back to their original state. Players start a brand new day and go back to phase 1 by drawing a single card from their deck. Remember, players only draw 4 cards on the first day. Refer to the day phase chart on the game mat to remember the phase order. Now, let's go over some of the specific cards in Rust the Afterworld, starting with effect cards. Effect cards may be played from your hand at any time during the game after initiative has been determined. When players use an effect card, they must pay the stockpile price immediately before the card can be resolved. When effect cards are resolved, they are placed in the scrap heap pile. If you're wishing to use an effect card to increase or buff the attack strength, constitution, or armor of a survivor, players must play them on the survivor prior to declaring them as attackers or blockers. Players cannot chain link effect cards, meaning if players wish to play several effect cards in a row, they must between each card give the opponent time to use any of their effect cards and react. There are some effect cards that have the reaction keyword written on them. Reaction cards can only be played as a reaction to another player's recent move. For example, player 1 plays the Gift of Foresight effect card, and player 2 plays the Nicodemus Rite of Void as a reaction. The effect card of player 1 is nullified, as that's the reaction rule of player 2's card. Nullified cards go into the scrap heap pile. Players can never play a reaction card to nullify a reaction. There are some effect cards that have the attachment keyword written on them. When players play an attachment card, that card is placed next to the card it's attached to. For example, you may have an attachment for an equipped weapon device, and so would place the attachment card next to the weapon device card. Attachment cards remain in play until the card it's attached to is removed from play, such as ending up in the scrap heap pile. Quest cards are special side quests that happen during a game and reward the player with riches that can turn the tide of battle. To begin a quest, play a quest card as your main action. On the following day, move the master token and any survivors wanting to assist in completing the quest to the empty quest space. Players may want to consider taking survivors as backup if your master has a low attack strength, as they may be facing off against enemy survivors. Players begin a quest starting with Ordeal 1. Follow the requirements outlined on the quest card to complete it. When Ordeal 1 has been completed, then on the following day, masters and their survivors accompanying them may move on to Ordeal 2. When Ordeal 2 is completed, then on the following day, masters and any remaining survivors accompanying them may move on to Ordeal 3. Upon finishing Ordeal 3, the master and his player receive the rewards outlined on the quest card. This can be a special unique device, doom points, and stockpile. If a reward is a unique device, take the device token card and add it to your master card. At the beginning of the next day, the master and remaining survivors return to the borderland. A quest may also have unique rules outlined on their card. For example, a unique rule may force players to discard stockpile each day while the quest is underway. A quest takes place outside the game, and therefore masters, devices, attachments, and any survivors embarked on the quest cannot be targeted by enemy survivors or enemy master skills. Only effect cards can target survivors, devices, attachments, and masters embarked on a quest. Opponents may attack and try to conquer dominions as normal, so be sure to leave your borderlands stocked with survivors and survivors manning dominions. Players cannot explore dominions while a quest is underway, as the master is physically unable to do so since he is on the quest. Players may still recruit survivors and assign a device, but those survivors and devices will join the master in the current ordeal during the quest. Manning a dominion means placing your survivors on top of a dominion card. Dominions, when in play, generate their own independent playing area, meaning survivors manning a dominion cannot be targeted by enemy survivors or enemy masters unless the dominion they're manning is declared the target of an attack in the action phase. When a dominion is the target of an attack, the survivors manning the dominion as well as survivors in the borderland can step up to block the attackers. Survivors manning a dominion cannot be chosen to attack when declaring war as they're not in the borderland. They also cannot be chosen to block against attackers declaring war on your master as they're manning a dominion. To begin manning a dominion, during the movement phase, move a survivor card from the borderland onto a dominion card in the area of influence. Survivors must be manning a dominion on the outermost dominion cards first. For example, a player has 3 dominions and wants to begin manning a dominion with a survivor. The survivors cannot reach the middle dominion as they can only move once per day and must begin manning an exterior dominion first. On the following day, if there are any survivors still manning a dominion, then during this turn's movement phase, the remaining survivors manning a dominion can move on to the next or middle dominion. There is no limit to how many survivors can be manning a single dominion. Survivors manning a dominion still suffer from rust unless they have the immune keyword written on their survivor card. Some cards, such as Rusted Twin, Holy Armor, Sword of Doom, and Raging Gorilla, will require players to put on the playground a token card. Token cards can represent survivors and devices, and they do not count towards your minimum card deck requirement of 40 cards. When cards are discarded in the scrap heap pile, players may be able to recover these cards using certain skills and effect cards. Eliminated cards, however, are placed outside the gaming area and cannot be accessed again until the end of the match. Alright everyone, it's time to play a game of Rust the Afterworld. I'll try my best to show you how to play using the rules I've explained. Thank you so much if you've gotten this far, and I hope you've been able to follow my instructions on how to play RTA. For this game demo, I will be playing as both masters and will have the East face off against the West. Let's hope we see the Samurai Master take on the Cursed Master in an epic showdown. Let's begin. First things first, on the first day we draw 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm drawing 5 cards for the Samurai, as that is the special rule for the Samurai Master as indicated on the Samurai Master card. And 4 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4. Next step is the initiative. We're going to take our D20 for the Samurai Master, Mighty 5. For the Curse Master, 14. So 14 for the Curse Master, they have initiative. And now we're on to movement. Well, there's no one here, so we're not going to be moving anybody. Skills. All right, no one can activate any skills except the Samurai Master. He's going to pay 1 stockpile to draw a card. And now that I drew a card, I have to discard one of these cards. And I think I'm going to discard Sacrifice the Meek. Okay, that's all that we can do for skills. So main action. What are we doing for the main action? The Cursed Master has these cards. Ooh, amazing cards to start. We're going to assign a device, and we're going to assign this Plague Mask. The Plague Mask offers 1 armor on the Cursed Master, which will really help his durability. Again, the Samurai class only has a lot of, well, not only, they have a lot of attacks that are only 1 damage, so they won't even touch the Cursed Master so long as he's wearing armor. It does have a low cost, but it's great. It does give him an ability, and it says you gain 2 stockpile at the end of the day before the rust phase. So we're going to play that. It's a very good card. These are actually really good cards that we have here. And I almost forgot that the Cursed Master starts with 2 less stockpile. And what the Samurai are going to do is they're gonna explore Dominion and play Abandoned City, and Abandoned City offers an ability, a skill, and it says only one survivor who is manning Abandoned City gains skill. Add 1 stock to your stockpile. So we're gonna play this, and then we're going to flip our cards, starting with who won the initiative. All right, so we must pay the stockpile cost, which is 1, to equip this mask, and it's going to be equipped up top. And then the Samurai Master puts their abandoned city in the area of influence and earns 2 Doom tokens. Very good. Seeing how that there is nothing else we can do, there is no war happening, we're going to move on to skills number 2. And no one can do any more skills as the Samurai Master has already activated his 1 skill, so we're going to move on to the rust phase. Only survivors and devices that don't have the keyword immune written on their card will suffer from rust, but before we actually put a rust token on the plague mask, the cursed survivor actually gets 2 stockpile back. And now that the rest phase is over, we can end the day and move on to day 2. First phase of the day is the draw phase. So we're going to draw 1 card for each faction. And then we're going to see who wins initiative. Taking the D20 for the Cursed Master, 13. For the Master Samurai, 19. Samurai Master gains the initiative this turn. Movement. There's no movement on the board, so we're going to skip over to skills number 1. The Samurai Master will use his level 1 skill again, which is pay a stockpile, draw a card, and then discard a card. And we're going to discard the Sacrifice the Meek again. Next up, we move on to our main action. What the Samurai is going to do is play a bunch of survivors. They're going to play 1, 2, 3 survivors, and we're not going to play any of these devices just yet. So we're going to place these in the borderland. This is a clear indication to your opponent that you're playing multiple survivors. And the Cursed Master is going to play this Abandoned City. And now that we've decided what we're doing for our main action, we're going to flip our cards, starting with the Samurai. So, Rusted Twin, 1, 2, 3 stockpile price. The Rusted Twin does have a special ability. When Rusted Twin is recruited, put onto the playground a token named Rusted Twin. So what that means, whenever you recruit Rusted Twin, you take the Rusted Twin token and place it right next to him. The token is an exact duplicate of Rusted Twin. Same stats, it's just another survivor. And then this one is, again, the other Rusted Twin. And then the Lone Survivor, which is another 2. And then I had to pay another 3 for that survivor. Now, Lone Wanderer does have a special rule, and it says when Lone Wanderer is recruited, you can search your deck for a Dominion, then put it onto the playground. If you do so, shuffle your deck. Lone Wanderer is now manning that Dominion. So, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to look through our deck. I know exactly what we want. We want this Dominion, the Ancient Field. We're going to shuffle our deck. Put it right back. Now, again, Ancient Field allows the Samurai Master to play survivors as if they're effects. And we're going to put it on that side. Remember, you can only put Dominions on either side of already existing Dominions. Lone Wanderer is now manning that Dominion. Not the ideal Dominion for him to be manning, but we'll fix that next turn. The Cursed Master played the Abandoned City, so we're going to put that down here. And the Cursed Master receives 2 Doom points. And of course, we also received 1 Doom point over here for that one. Now that we've revealed our cards, we move on to the next step, which is War. But again, there's no war, so we're moving on to the skills number 2 phase. And I don't believe there's any skills either masters are going to do, so we're going to move on to the Rust phase. We're going to take a bunch of dice. We're going to put a Rust on him, Rust there, Rust here, lots of Rusts. And then the Cursed Master actually gets 2 extra stockpile for the Plague Mask before it actually suffers from rust. I do love the Plague Mask. It is really, really good. When you draw that early on, you're going to have a good time. And now that we've applied rust on all our cards, we're going to move on to the next day. First step in the new day, draw a card here, and we're going to draw a card over here. After the draw, we move on to the initiative. Let's see what the Samurai Master gets. 14, and then 4 over here, so 14 is the winner for the Samurai Master. For movement, we're going to actually take the Lone Wanderer and move him on the Abandoned City. And that will be it for movement on the samurai side, and there's no movement on the cursed master side. So we're gonna move on to the skills number 1. And what the samurai master is gonna do is he's gonna pay 1 to draw a card, and now he has to actually discard a card, and we're gonna discard the card that we just picked up. Now, Surprise Onslaught is really good. It allows me to search my deck for Survivor and put it onto the borderland, but because we're running out of stockpile, I don't think this is gonna be a good idea, so we're gonna actually discard that one. And then there's no more skills on the table, so we're gonna move on to the main action. As a main action, the samurai is going to equip this device. It's called the Dream Killer. Additionally, the samurai is going to equip the shuriken gun, but the shuriken gun can be played as an effect card. So now we are fully equipped. The cursed master is going to start playing some survivors. The cursed master is going to play blacksmith and going to play the outcast. All right, the Dream Killer costs 1 stockpile, and it also says when Dream Killer enters the playground, each player loses half of his doom points rounded up. So we're going to equip that to, it says the right side, so we're going to put it on the right side. We lose half our doom points rounding up, so we lose, well, just the 1. And then same with this player. And the Cursed Master has the Blacksmith and the Outcast for 4 total. 1, 2, 3, 4. The Outcast does have a special rule, but we'll get to that later. And the Blacksmith does have a special rule, and it says when Blacksmith is recruited, remove all the rust counters from target device. So we're going to take those rust counters, remove them. So now he has that armor for a few more days, and he's going to be generating more and more stockpile. And now that there's no war happening, we're going to move on to the skills number 2. And for skills, what we're going to do, the Samurai Master is going to, of course, he has to use the shuriken gun. It's too good. He's going to apply 1 rust to the shuriken gun. There's the 1 rust. To deal 1 damage to the outcast. Now, the outcast does have a special rule, which we would have used right now. But because the Samurai Master won the initiative, the outcast didn't have an opportunity to use this skill, which is amazing. It says, put outcast in your scrap heap to scrap target dominion, then draw 2 cards and gain 6 stockpile. This is a great card, and if the Samurai Master didn't just blast it away, definitely would have been using that. In the scrap heap it goes. But now that it's the Cursed Master's turn, what we're going to do is we're going to actually use his level 1 ability. And it says, pay 1 stockpile, choose a survivor from your scrap heap, play it, paying its cost, and add a veteran counter on it. So he's going to pay 1 stockpile to pull the outcast out. He's going to use this as a veteran token. And now we have our outcast back. And seeing how we're still in the skills phase, the outcast can now use his ability. So we're going to do it right away. We're going to discard outcast, put him in the scrap heap. And now we're going to target a dominion. We're going to target, let's target this dominion that the Lone Wanderer is on. We're going to scrap it. And because we scrapped and destroyed the abandoned city, we actually get 2 doom points. And we're also gaining 6 stockpile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We hit our max at 20. That was a very, very good turn for the Cursed Master. Now that all our skills are done, we're going to move on to the rust phase. And so everything on the table suffers from 1 rust. Now, because we're at the max stockpile, we cannot exceed it with the Plague Mask ability. And now that rust is over, we have finished day 3 on to day 4. All right, day 4 begins. And actually, before we begin, what I have to do is eliminate the outcast, because he had a veteran token on him, and when veteran tokens are put into the scrap heap, they're actually eliminated. So I cannot resurrect him once again. First thing, we're going to draw a card here, then we're going to roll for initiative for Samurai. 6-6 tie. Samurai 18, 17, just barely. Initiative goes to the Samurai. Movement. We're going to actually move this Lone Wanderer back into the borderland. That's all for the Samurai movement. The Cursed movement, we're going to move this Blacksmith onto the abandoned city. And now we're on the skills phase. Now the shuriken gun cannot target the blacksmith anymore because the blacksmith has to stay in the borderland because that's where our master is. So no skills are going to be used here, and no skills are going to be used for the cursed master. However, the cursed master will be playing a few effect cards. That is contamination. He's going to pay 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it says, as long as contamination stays attached, that dominion gains every time non-immune survivor who is manning this dominion, and every device assigned to survivors who are manning it get an additional rust each day. At the end of the day, the dominion's controller loses 1 stockpile. That is very, very dangerous. So every day until we get rid of this contamination, we lose 1 stockpile, and we're already running quite low on the samurai side. We're in a lot of trouble here. Now, before the cursed master plays another effect card, the samurai master is going to play this survivor card. It is Luke the Blade Dancer, one of my favorite cards of the samurai faction. Now what the cursed master is going to do is play Surprise Onslaught. So he's going to pay 3, then he's going to look through his deck for a particular card, a survivor card, pay the Plague Doctor stockpile price, 1, 2, 3, and play him right here. This goes in the scrap heap pile. And now that we're done activating all our skills, we're going to move on to the main action phase, and the samurai master is going to declare war. And because the samurai declared war, the cursed master cannot declare war back. So instead, they're actually not going to do anything because they can't do anything. The cursed master doesn't have a device, doesn't have any dominions in his hand. We are literally just stuck sitting around waiting for things to happen. Now that we've decided what we're doing, we're moving on to the war phase. Now the samurai master has to decide who is going to war. And we know exactly who's going to war. These guys are not going to war. The reason why they're not going to war is because they're only doing 1 damage. The cursed master is wearing armor that gives them +1 damage. So none of their damage is going to go through. It's going to just be a waste. So we're not sending them to war. We're sending Luke the Blade Dancer, and we're also sending the samurai master. The samurai master is currently doing 3 damage. And he's also doing piercing damage. So he ignores armor. And now the cursed master has to decide who's going to be blocking the attackers. Well, he has 1 Plague Doctor available to block, and then he has himself to block. Luke has a special rule where any non-master survivor gets damaged by his blade, they end up in the scrap heap. Very similar to the sensei. It's actually exactly like the sensei. So we're going to block Luke with the cursed master, and we're going to block the samurai master with the Plague Doctor. Now let's calculate the damage. Luke has an attack strength of 2, and the cursed master has armor 1. So we're actually only doing 1 damage to the cursed master. Now let's resolve the Plague Doctor versus the samurai master. The Plague Doctor has an attack strength of 2, so we're losing 2 health here. And then the samurai master is doing 3 piercing damage. So it's going straight through the armor, and he only has a constitution of 2. So we actually kill the Plague Doctor. Now I actually forgot that the Plague Doctor is worth 2 doom points. So when we actually played the Doctor, we actually got 2 doom points. But now he's dead. And when you kill unique characters, as you can see, he's a unique character. And if they have the doom token on there, doom points, you actually get the amount of doom points on the card. So the samurai master just gained 2 for killing the Plague Doctor. And now that combat's been resolved, let's move on to the skills number 2 phase. And there are no other skills, so we're going to move on to Rust. The Cursed Master from the Plague Mask gets 2 stockpile, whereas the Samurai Master loses 1 stockpile because of the contamination. And then for Rust, everything rusts. Rust here, rust here. And now that the Rust phase is over, we finish day 4 and we move on to day 5. Okay, at the beginning of the day, we're going to draw a card for the Cursed Master and the Samurai Master. Next up, we're going to roll for initiative. So for the Samurai Master, he gets a 1, and the Cursed Master gets a 16. So initiative goes to the Cursed Master. Next phase is movement. Well, there isn't going to be any movement from the Cursed Master or the Samurai Master, so we're going to skip the movement phase and move on to the skills phase. The Curse Master is going to use his level 1 skill, so he pays a CP, and then he resurrects a survivor from the scrap heap pile. He pays the cost, and we add a veteran token onto that card. And now we have a survivor. Next up, we're going to activate this Abandoned City skill using the Blacksmith. So we gain an extra 2 stockpile over there. And that's all the skills we're going to use for the Cursed Survivor. The Samurai Master, however, we're going to try to take this Plague Doctor out. We don't want this Plague Doctor anywhere. So we're going to use the Shuriken Gun. We're going to apply 3 extra rust onto the Shuriken Gun to deal 3 damage to the Plague Doctor. We got to break through his 1 armor and then his 2 constitution. So there's the 3 hitting the Plague Doctor. Plague Doctor is gone, and we must eliminate him since he had a veteran token on him. And now that the Shuriken Gun has hit 6 rust, it actually rusts and goes in the scrap heap. Probably not the best idea for the Samurai Master to do that, as we needed the extra 2 attack strength. But that is okay. What we're going to actually do is we are going to play another Shuriken Gun from our hand. So we're going to pay the 2. We're getting low. We got to finish off the Cursed Master ASAP. And now that the skills phase is over, because we're not going to do any more skills here, we're going to move on to the main action. Now, the Cursed Master can't do any main actions this turn, as the card that he picked up was this card. And we were hoping to use that on the Plague Doctor. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to that point, so we cannot really do anything with the Cursed Master right now. The Samurai Master is going to declare war. Now that we're onto the war phase, and seeing how Cursed Master can't do anything, it's back to the Samurai Master. We're going to attack with Luke and the Samurai token, Master token. We can attack with anyone else, again, as the Cursed Master is wearing a Plague Mask, which grants him the extra armor, so we can't actually do any damage to the Cursed Master, so it's only these 2 that are able to do damage. Now let's resolve the damages, starting with Luke. Luke is doing 2 damage to the Cursed Master. But the Cursed Master is wearing the armor, so he's actually only doing 1 damage. Next up, we have the Samurai Master token. He's doing a total of 1, 2, as for the Shuriken Gun, 3 for the Dream Killer. The Dream Killer is also armor piercing, so it ignores the Plague Mask. So we're doing 3 damage to the Cursed Master. 1, 2, 3. All right, now that the war phase is over, we're going to move on to the skills 2 phase. Now, there are no skills that we're going to play on either side, so we're going to move on to the rust phase. And now everything suffers from rust. And before the Plague Mask rusts, we're going to gain an extra 2 stockpile for the Cursed Master. And now this rusts and goes in the scrap heap pile. And at the end of the turn, the Samurai Master suffers from the contamination, so we lose a stockpile. We have 1 turn left. We have to be able to kill the Cursed Master next turn, or it's game over for us. Or the Samurai Master has to destroy the contamination. Now that everything's done, we're going to finish off the day and move on to day 6. Alright everyone, tension is high. We are moving on to day 6, and this could be the last day for the Samurai Master unless we can pull something from the draw pile. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw for each side. And after we draw, we are going to roll for initiative. So the Samurai Master rolls an 18. The Cursed Master rolls an 11, so we win with the 18. Oh, I just realized that this Lone Wanderer has exceeded its rust. So he actually exceeded it last turn. So that's my bad. So he goes into the scrap heap. And now that the initiative has been established, we're going to move on to movement. The Cursed Master has no movement on their side. The Samurai Master has no movement on their side. So we're going to move on to the skills phase. The Samurai Master has no skills that he's going to be able to do, as we're running low on stockpile. We have 2 stockpile left. The Cursed Master, however, is going to use the Abandoned City skill to gain 2 stockpile. And now that that's done, we're going to move on to the main action. The Samurai Master is going to declare war against the Cursed Master. The Cursed Master was lucky enough to draw the Leonard Cursed Ravager card. He's a unique survivor. Now, Leonard has a skill, and it says, pay 1 stockpile. Leonard challenges a target survivor, which is on the playground. Each one inflicts damage equal to his strength to the other. And it also says under the mission category, when a non-master survivor damaged by Leonard ends up in the scrap heap, you gain 1 doom point. Now, we haven't been able to utilize doom points that much in this game. It's harder to utilize them in a single game matched play style. They do become more handy in a tournament style when you're playing multiple games at once. So we're gonna play that for the Cursed Master, and then we're going to flip it. We're going to pay the cost, and that's it. Then we're gonna go on to the war phase. We're gonna attack with everyone. Seeing as how the Cursed Master has no more armor, these guys will actually start doing damage. And then the Master Survivor is going to also attack. Now we have to decide who's going to be blocking for the Cursed Master. Of course, we're going to be blocking with Leonard. And Leonard is going to be blocking Luke's card. And now let's resolve the combat damage. Starting with the second twin token over there. They're doing 1 damage. This rusted twin is doing 1 damage. Another damage here. Another damage there. That's 4 wounds total. Now Leonard's going to step up. Like I mentioned, he's going to block Luke. He's doing 3 damage to Luke. Luke only has 2 constitution and 1 armor, so he's going straight through Luke's armor, so Luke is dead. And now that Luke has died, due to his ability, he gains 1 extra doom point. And now the Master token is equipped with 1, 2, 3 damage from his devices, dealing straight damage to the Cursed Master, reducing his stockpile below 1. And so the Samurai Master, again, is victorious in Rust the Afterworld. That was a very close game, and I thought the Cursed Master was actually going to win this game. Contamination is very powerful, and I never ever really used it. As you can tell, it does cost a lot of stockpile to use, but you can also see that it has results. It slowly kills the enemy master, and that's exactly what you want. It's worth the cost. I hope you all enjoyed these game demos of Rust the Afterworld. Now, I will have game demos of the North and the South facing off against each other, but those will be in another video. Now, I'll also be producing a video for tournament style play, and a tournament style game plays a lot different than the standard pitched matches. And I'm really looking forward to playing those games and having you guys check it out. But for now, the Samurai Master is victorious. I am a little biased. I do love the Samurai Master more than any other master in the game. Now, who doesn't love the Samurai? These guys are really good. I really enjoyed the Cursed Master, but it really depends on what kind of cards they can play. The Samurai Master, all their cards are generally really good, and their use of devices are just superb. But thank you so much, everyone, for watching these games.
And there you have it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching my How to Play Rust the Afterworld. I'm a big fan of this game and absolutely love the Eastern faction. Let's face it, who doesn't like a katana-wielding samurai anyway? You've got to be crazy not to love that kind of stuff. And I'm sure you noticed during the game demo, I was a little bit biased and really wanted the Samurai Master to win. But hey, the Cursed Master did put up a really good fight in that second game. Now, I've played several games with each faction and found that they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. None seem too overpowered and all are very well balanced. I think each faction is good in their own right, but ultimately it does come down to which cards players decide to include in their deck. I can only imagine the crazy combos and synergies, and I can't actually wait to discover them. Soon, I'll be releasing a North versus South faction game demo, which you'll be able to check out on my YouTube channel. These two factions are completely different than the ones seen in today's video, so I'm really pumped for you guys to check these guys out. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a like, comment down below, and let me know what you think of Rust the Afterworld. Do you have the game? If so, who's your favorite faction? Have you come up with any crazy card synergies that I should know about? I'd love to know, so let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and you can catch me in the next one.